Hey guys, Byron Cochran here, Byron Cochran Outdoors, and today we're talking about frogs. It's summer, it's hot, and the grass is growing, and we're going to get into it and talk about what you can do frog-wise on top of the grass. So, my first frog is just your typical standard, it's a Spro frog, and this is just going to be your typical green with the yellow belly, and there's a lot of variations of that too, but as you can see, just the legs, your typical frog for if it's really mad, and I like this one, or these kinds of frogs, if it's matted on top and there's not much, it's just matted over top and you can just glide over it or walk it or anything like that. And a lot of people like to pull one side of the legs and the other and make it where it walks better, and some people like to cut it, and I personally like to cut the legs when I use them because I feel like a lot of times they see the legs, and when they strike, they're going to strike a lot of the legs and miss a lot of the body. So, and in a frog too, you'll get a lot of blow ups and stuff, and you'll miss a lot at first. It's tough. You got to wait. When you sit there and walk, and all of a sudden one blows up, you have to wait until you feel the pressure on the line. Then you set the hook. So it's definitely tough. But this right here, the Spro, just your regular standard frog for when the grass is matted up over and it casts a shadow. This just floats right on top. So my second, well, here's another, well, we'll go to this after that. And here's one I like, is a popping frog. And this is a shad color. And I like my popping frogs a lot of times in my shad colors. And I like the popping frog when I'm either fishing around wood or the grass hasn't fully came up yet. And it's just a more kind of like finesse type of frog, you can say, I guess. And when the sun's straight up in the air too, there's no clouds or nothing when I like to throw this. But it's just kind of a finessier popping, or a finessier frog. But you also get the frog presentation, and it's more weedless than a pop-R, so you get the popper still. Now let's see here, the next one, and I think this one's a game changer, is this little frog here. And I actually got this in a Monster Bass box, so I don't recall at the moment what the name of it is, but I'll link everything we do, or everything we talk about here, I'll link in the description. But here is a little frog, and I love this one for skipping docks, or basically around wood or anything too, or when the grass is not fully matted over and it's still under the ground or under the water and not fully up, or it's just really sparse. I like this one because you have this little whopper plopper end at the end, so you're sitting there working. Let me get this leg back to normal. But you're sitting here working this bait along. You really don't even got to work it. You just sit there and floop, 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 just pull it like normal, like you would a whopper plopper basically. And you can, actually I love this one for skipping docks. It's a smaller presentation also, so you can get more, you'll get more bites off of it. And they'll actually eat it better too, or your hookup ratio is better actually because it's a smaller bait, and plus the legs ain't so long, it's just right there, so they eat it. But one bait that they don't talk about a lot, and that I still like, is the old, just a soft plastic frog. Now, let me show you what I like to throw it on. I like the 2-hook with the screw on it. This is a Cream Lure doodad, and Cream Lure makes all kinds of colors and everything, and that's another thing I like about frogs. They make them now where they're shad, they're bluegill, as you can see this one's some kind of brim, just any kind of color. But on these, I like to spin it on there, and this is an old frog, so if it don't exactly go right, it's because it's been used. But spin it on there, just like that. Now you hook it. I like to go closer to the legs. Hook it, and boom, there's your frog. And you can even, some people like to tuck it under, and I do occasionally tuck it under the skin so it's completely weedless. And I like this one too also, like like this one with the little whopper plopper end on it. I like it because you can throw it weedless and under trees and when there's sparse grass. The only difference I've noticed between, let's say, throwing this one in a popping frog or even this one, that it will, in the grass, this will sometimes hang in it, the bottom, or sometimes in the soft plastic frog, it pulls out a lot from the skin there. So you will be replacing baits a lot, but still, cream lures doodad and the soft plastic frogs is one of my go-tos. And they also make little frogs, small little frogs. And I've not really experienced much in this, but what I can tell is if your bait fish is smaller, or you're just trying to get more bites, or your hookup ratio, you can go with a smaller frog. So now, that's kind of the basic general idea of what frogs I like to use. And there's some different frogs you can use too, but this is generally for most applications I like to use. And now the colors, as you can tell, I've talked about the soft plastic doodad. They make, I mean, everything. Shad, they make this little bluegill brim color, just any color you can think of. They can make regular frog colors. And if it's kind of just a partly cloudy day and just normal conditions, just your average day, I like just a standard old frog color, some kind of yellow bottom, green back. And you can vary off that too, so it don't have exactly. And that's a good thing. A frog is a frog. It's not necessarily, your color is not, it's important, but it's not super critical that everything's perfect. It can be, you know, if somebody's using green back and a yellow belly, and then somebody else is using a little variation of that, they'll be fine. But on the really dark days over the mats, I like throwing this black, because what they're seeing is here, and they're not looking exactly for a frog. They always think it's going to be, it could be a frog, but they think it could be bluegill or shad or anything. But if it's a really cloudy day, they're going to see, here's your mat here, they're going to see just a shadow casting over it, so they're going to hit the shadow. Boom. And that's why during really sunny days, you throw your shad color, or you can even throw a translucent frog, because they see it, they can see it better. And usually, generally, the water might be clear too or anything, or in clear water situations also. Throw your white frog, or during a shad spawn, anything like that, because they're going to be able to see it better, or it acts as if it's like a more shad color and everything. So that's the pretty much a general color I like to use. I just like to use shad colors, and then bluegills, and then sometimes your typical frog. But let's see here. Now, I guess I'll get into what I like to do about line. My line, I like to use vicious braid. I like 50 or 65 pound braid, because most of the time, I like 50 or 60 pound braid. Let me rephrase that. I like 50 or 60 pound braid when you're sitting there in the mats and you're sitting there working that frog, and all of a sudden one blows up on it, takes it under, boom, you're sticking him in the grass. You're having to pull him out of the grass, or, you know, out of the mats or whatever. It may be lily pads. So you're going to really need some force to get him out of there, and you don't want to break off with that. So I really like that. Now, as far as like skipping under the docks or anything like that, it depends how clear your water is. I generally try to stay, you can still throw braid too, honestly, if you're not in a clear water lake, because where this thing is working, which I like to throw most of the time under docks or something like this, where this thing is working, poop, 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 they're not going to be able to see the braid, and plus the braid's going to be floating anyway, so they're not even looking at it. And a lot of times it's shaded over too, so that's, I mean, I like to use a lot. You can use a lighter braid, or even the same braid you use for this, for me, is what I've noticed. Or you can even, like if you're on a clear lake and you're just popping the frog along, use 15 pound test braid around trees, or not braid, but mono, because mono floats. Throw it around trees or whatever. Or if you're just in like a sparse grass, really, really sparse grass, and it's clear, you can throw 15 pound and get away with it. Or even 20, but 15 if need be, if it's super clear. Or if you're pausing it a lot, because pausing it a lot gives it time to look at it. And my reel, a reel's kind of one of them preference things. If you like Shimano, or Abu Garcia or this or that. But as far as the gear ratio, I like a really, really high-speed gear ratio, 7-to-1 or even higher, because you're going to be sitting there, walk, and then it blows up. Well, you're going to have to reel down to him, and as soon as you feel the pressure, boom, you stick him. You stick him hard too. Most of the time, every time, they're on a frog, because you got these 2 hooks, you're going to stick him hard. There ain't going to be no, throw it out there and just barely get him. You get him good. So, talking about that too, you'll need a rod, a really good rod. And depends on the application of the frog I'm throwing. If I'm skipping, throwing under them docks, I kind of want a little bit flimsier rod. I still want probably at least a medium heavy with a fast action. But as far as like if I'm in the match, throwing over it or anything, I like a heavy rod I still like a fast action, because that allows them sometimes to, because frog bites, a lot of times you'll lose them a lot just on the blow up. But it allows them to grab it, pull without you pulling it out of his mouth or pulling it before him, and then boom, stick him hard with the backbone, and allows you to grind through the grass with it. So that's pretty much my basics on frogs. I try to keep it simple. It's not, I've kind of experienced a little bit with it, and I've just recently been fishing Chickamauga and Guntersville and all these TVA lakes which got grass, and docks too, a lot of the docks. So that's kind of generally what I've done and had very good success on. So you just, a lot of times too, you can just go out and trial and error, and they make all kinds of more colors than I'm talking about too. They make a blues and a lot of translucent too, frogs. So just honestly, the best tip I can give you too is just go out and try it for yourself. Just grab a frog according on what if it's sunny or not. If it's sunny, do exactly what I said, and it'll get you bites. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about frogs. And if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe. We're going to grow with the channel. We're moving on forward. I'm going to start fishing a lot more TVA lakes because I've recently moved, so I'm closer to Guntersville and Chickamauga. Last thing before the video ends, if you got a subject or like a type of style of fishing you want me to talk about relative to the seasons, comment down below and we'll definitely talk about them. I just want to hear back from you guys, and I want to make sure I'm giving you the content y'all want to hear. So till next time, tight lines.